Good evening. On behalf of the co-sponsors of tonight's forum, the Peninsula Interfaith Coalition for Immigrant Rights, part of the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity, and the League of Women Voters of South San Mateo County, I'd like to welcome the candidates and you, the audience, to this public forum for San Mateo County Sheriff. My name is Lisa Conrad. I'm a League volunteer, and I will be your moderator this evening. I'd like to say just a little bit about the League. It's a national political organization of women and men. We do not support or oppose candidates or political parties. We do work to influence public policy through advocacy and education. And I'd like to encourage you all to visit the California State League of Women Voters election website, votersedge.org, for information about the candidates and measures on your ballot. I'd also like to make a public service announcement. This upcoming this upcoming election, we have the Voters' Choice Act. So June 5th, 2008 will be the first all mailed-in ballot. Every registered voter will receive a ballot in the mail on or about May 7th. For more information on the Voters' Choice Act, please visit the table in the narthex just outside this room. Thank you. So I'd like to review some ground rules for tonight's forum. The moderator will be in control of the process. That's me. No campaign material should be visible in this room. Only one person speaks at a time. And please focus on the issues, not on the personalities involved. Presenters will not interrupt each other. Presenter responses should focus on the specific question asked. All speakers will be listened to respectfully. And questions are for both candidates to answer so we can compare and contrast their answers and make better choices. So to begin with, I ask everyone to please turn off your cell phones. This event is being recorded and will be replayed on local public access TV. You can access the recording by going to either the Mid-Peninsula Media Center, the League's website, or votersedge.org. So each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement and 3 minutes for a closing statement. Written questions will be taken from the audience. We ask that you submit your questions using the 3x5 cards available from our volunteers, Terry Train and Bernadette Burns. Please raise your hand if you'd like a card to submit a question, and just hold your card up when you'd like to have it collected, and one of the volunteers will come get it. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. Joanne Brueggemann, another League volunteer sitting in the front, will be our timekeeper this evening. She'll be timing each speaker and will hold up signs at 1 minute, 30 seconds, and a red stop sign indicating the time is up. You may finish your sentence. And also League volunteer Jennifer Bester, sitting here with me, will be sorting the questions that you've submitted. This enables us to cover a range of issues and to avoid redundancy. So now I'd like to introduce the candidates. We have Mark Melville and Sheriff Carlos Bolanos. Mark Melville deferred to let the sheriff go first with the opening statements. So then Mark Melville will go first with the closing statements. They will alternate answering the questions first. This is our standard League format that we use to keep things as equitable as possible. So please write your questions on the cards available, pass it to one of the League volunteers, and we'll get started with the opening statements. Sheriff Carlos Bolanos.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Sheriff Carlos Bolanos. I was born and raised in San Francisco. My parents were immigrants from the country of Nicaragua. I've been married for 38 years. I have 3 children, 2 grandchildren. I've been a San Mateo County resident for over 25 years. I have 39 years of law enforcement experience, having worked in Palo Alto, Salinas, Redwood City, and the Sheriff's Office. I hold a bachelor's degree in economics and a master's degree in public administration. I am also a graduate of Command College and the Homeland Security Executive Leaders Program. Prior to joining the Sheriff's Office, I was Redwood City Police Chief for 13 years. I served as undersheriff for 10 years, responsible for the day-to-day operation of the Sheriff's Office, and I have been sheriff for the past 2 years. The Sheriff's Office has 811 employees and a budget of $270 million. Our rank structure is we have 462 deputy sheriffs, correctional officers, 60 sergeants, and of course we have lieutenants, captains, assistant sheriffs, and under sheriff, and then my position, sheriff. My three priority areas are keep San Mateo County safe, continue to have outstanding relationships and programs with our community, innovative and progressive inmate programs. I have the support of the two former sheriffs, the entire Board of Supervisors, the current and former district attorney, 95 current and former elected officials in San Mateo County, and more than 160 law enforcement leaders. I am also proud to have received the endorsement of the San Mateo County Labor Council. I also have the support of the San Mateo County Deputy Sheriff's Association and the Organization of Sheriff Sergeants, who together represent over 500 members of the Sheriff's Office. Thank you.
Can you hear me back there? A little bit louder? A little bit more. Okay, my name is Mark Melville. I've been in law enforcement and in public service for 43 years. I started my career in the city of Brisbane, came to Half Moon Bay, went back to Brisbane as a sergeant and as a fire captain for 6 years. Then I went out to Patterson as a sergeant, as Patterson was up and growing. I was a sergeant there. I was a lieutenant for about 2 weeks. And then I made chief down in the city of Gustine. And also, I was the city manager down there. Also, then I went over to the city of Livingston and was the city manager there as well as the director of public safety. So I decided that I was going to try being an elected official and ran for city council, and I was successful. But that was probably the worst job I ever had, and I'm not afraid to admit it, because our staff couldn't do the job the way that I did the job, because I was used to doing the job. So I got out of that. Went to work for NASCAR, doing disaster preparedness plans. The sheriff in San Bernardino came up to me and he said, "Mark, why don't you come to work for me?" And I said, if I'm going to get back in the game again, I'm going to go back to San Mateo County to finish up my career where I started it, because I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of being in this county for 20 years. I was hired in '08 as a sheriff's deputy and currently assigned to the coast, and I'm having a great time. Why did I get into the sheriff's race? Well, if you look at my website, it'll tell you. I'm in it for change. Nothing against Sheriff Bolanos, but I didn't like the process in the way that they went through to appoint him. So I said, it's time for change. So I threw my hat in the ring. I went and sat down with the sheriff, told him I was going to run against him, that we needed, in my estimation, some new blood at the top of the sheriff's office. So that's why I'm running, and that's why I'm here tonight. And hopefully we can answer all the questions you want to answer. So thank you very much.
Okay, we'll have Sheriff Carlos Bolanos answer this question first. What are the top 3 issues you would want to address as sheriff?
Thank you. The first issue that I would want to address is our staffing shortage in the sheriff's office. We are not unique. Can you hear me now? Thank you. We're not unique in law enforcement right now. Everyone throughout the state and the country has a severe staffing shortage. At the sheriff's office, we have 57 sworn vacancies. We are working together with the Deputy Sheriff's Association and Human Resources to develop plans to address this staffing issue. Of those 57 positions, 12 are new positions. So if you subtract those, then obviously we're at 45 actual vacancies. This year, I'm proud to say we've already hired 20 people, and we have developed a plan to address our staffing issue by May 1st of next year, and our target is to fill every possible vacancy that we have. The second issue that I want to focus on is our continued implementation of intelligence-led policing, where we use crime analysis, communication throughout the organization, and accountability to ensure that we have a robust crime reduction program so that we can continue to keep San Mateo County as the safe county that it is. My third focus area will be our inmate programs to ensure that we bring creative and unique programs into our correctional facilities so that when someone leaves our facility, they are better equipped to go out into our communities and not reoffend. Thank you.
Coming up with three is pretty easy to do. My first one is transparency. And I think we need to get better at being transparent. Everybody reads, hears, watches what's going on in this country today. And I've always said this, that we in law enforcement do a horrible job at telling the people what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. We need to get better at doing it. So I know we have the body cams coming, and I believe that's an excellent tool because we will share those with people when they come in and make a complaint. Even if they don't, we're going to share it. Even if we do something good, we're going to share it. But the main thing is if we're doing something wrong, we're going to tell you we do it wrong, and we're going to tell you how we fix it. So that's very, very important to me. The next thing is community partnerships. You know, we do have a community policing unit, but I think we can be better. There's a lot of organizations out there that could use a little bit more one-on-one interaction with the sheriff's office. And my number three would be, as the sheriff said, is we need to get our staffing levels up. We're all, as deputies, required to work 24 hours overtime every 2 weeks. Sheriffs are working, our sheriff sergeants are now working overtime. So we've got to put a plan together to get those numbers up so we can reduce that. Thank you.
And I'd like to ask you all to hold your applause. We have an unbelievable number of questions up here and only an hour to go through them all, so I'd like to make progress. Do you think that there should be communication or other cooperation between the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office and ICE? If so, under what circumstances? And Mark Melville, you go first on this one.
We are going to have communication with ICE only because we're going to hold inmates that they're going to want, and they're going to have to show up with a federal warrant to get them. So our relationship is going to be one of professionalism only. I think it's pretty clear that we're not doing anything to help ICE as far as immigration enforcement is concerned. We're not doing it. We're not going to do it. We have a law that we have to follow, SB 54. There are some provisions within that that allow us some discretion. I don't necessarily agree with everything that we're doing now, but everything we'll go through it line by line to figure out where it is and where we can help the immigrants the most. If the discretion is mine, then I'm going to do everything I can to help them stay here in San Mateo County. Thank you.
Please hold your applause.
So we have already gone through Senate Bill 54, the California Values Act, line by line. We have implemented a policy to ensure that we absolutely abide by the law in regards to our communication with ICE. The only inmates that we communicate with ICE regarding are those that fit that criteria. And there's a laundry list of specific penal codes. In order to qualify, they must be a serious and violent felony. And my position is that we will absolutely communicate with ICE as it relates to those individuals. And my reasoning for that is because I believe that if we don't, we're making our communities less safe because we're allowing serious and violent felons to go back into the same communities that we're supposed to protect. Thank you.
I'm going to ask one more time, please keep your applaud, don't applaud, we'd like to keep moving. What are your thoughts about women's equality at work, and particularly in the sheriff's office?
I think everyone who knows me and knows my career knows that I absolutely support women in the workplace. And as evidence of that, my number 2 person, Under Sheriff Tricia Sanchez, who's here tonight, is a woman. And I appointed her as Under Sheriff not because she was a woman, but because she was the best person for the job. And that to me is true equality when you pick the best person for the job, irrespective of what their gender is. In my command staff, I have women captains, and throughout the organization, we have women doing the exact same job as men for the exact same pay, benefits, and all the other characteristics that go with being employed by the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. So for me, the evidence is looking at the organization as it exists right now with women in positions of power throughout the entire organization. Thank you.
Throughout my 43 years in this business, women have played a key role in my administrations and in my workforce. And they deserve every opportunity to perform the same job as a man. And some of them are a lot better. And we're very fortunate, as the sheriff said, we have a lot of women within the organization who contribute significantly. And I will definitely continue to look for and to hire more women so we can maybe balance it out a little bit. But no, I have nothing but the utmost respect for the women that work for us, and I know we'll be hiring a lot more.
And a question regarding the budget. What is the sheriff's office organizational budget, and how many employees are affected by the budget?
You want to start?
I think it's your turn.
It's your, you go first.
The sheriff's office budget is $270 million. And we know right off the top, 65–70% of that budget is for personnel services, all the salaries, all the overtime, and such. So you got 30% left over for services, equipment, training. I mean, it's pretty well significantly defined. We pretty much operate off a line item budget, so you can look at any subject matter within that, and it'll tell you how much is budgeted for that. I know at times I say that we don't budget enough for training, and we maybe move some dollars from one account to another so we can boost that up. But when you have 811 employees total, I mean, the money goes by pretty quick, and you got to be very frugal, and you got to pay attention to it. You got to watch it.
I agree with Deputy Sheriff Melville. In fact, that's what I've done as sheriff. Over the last 10 years, we have amassed a surplus of $16 million in the sheriff's office because I have been careful to manage not only our personnel costs, but our supplies and services costs. Our budget for personnel is actually a little closer to 80%. When you're dealing with a $270 million, that's a significant difference. And what I have found is if you manage your personnel dollars, which we have done, then you have plenty of money for your supplies and services. And I believe that my job is to be a steward of the public's money. I have done that. When I joined the sheriff's office, we were running at a deficit. By changing the way that we budget, by ensuring that there is accountability at the division head level positions, we have been able to develop quite a robust budget that has allowed us to, buy guns, to help renovate our brand-new indoor range. We bought a new records management system, and I'm sure there's many more things that we were able to buy based upon the money that I was able to save by ensuring that we managed our tax dollars in a responsible manner. Thank you.
And this is a bit of a budget question also. This person felt that the sheriff's programs guided them away from gangs and drugs. So this person has an interest in the future of community programs in terms of funding and growth.
Thank you. Probably the most important programs to me are the programs that immediately affect our youth. Sheriff's Activities League, our School Resource Officer Program, our Community Policing Program, anything that has to do with children. Our Sheriff's Activities League services over 3,500 kids on an annual basis. We have chapters throughout the county who ensure that those kids that need our services receive them. What we have found is that the time that is most dangerous for our youth is when they get out of school and before their parents get home. It used to be that was between 3 and 6. However, what we have found is in this economy, in this housing situation, the kids that need our programs, their parents aren't getting home at 6 because they're having to work 2 jobs or extra hours. So more than ever, those programs that are geared towards our youth are the most important. We went through budget cuts before, and what most law enforcement organizations did at that time was they reduced the budgets for community policing, for Sheriff's Activities League, the school resource officers, the things that affect our kids the most. And the sheriff at that time and myself ensured that our community programs remained untouched because we recognized that our relationship with the community, and especially the youth in our community who need our services, is the most important thing. Thank you.
Most definitely that the youth of this county is the most important. They're up and growing. And we need to be a part of them. And we can be a lot more a part of them. The SAL program is an excellent program. The PAL programs throughout this county, extremely important and very effective. I mean, this is where we start our relationship with the children, is in the schools. So our school resource officers play a significant role in dealing with the children. They have some great one-on-one relationships, which helps everybody else out in the field when we need some of their helps. And also, along with the sheriff has said, is that's one program that just cannot be cut. You cannot cut that program. You got to keep it intact. But I plan on making it even more significant by allowing a lot of these school resource officers and the community policing officers to actually be linked to one of these organizations so that they have a point of contact. So when things are not going well, they can come back and tell us and we can see what we can do to make it better. But we have to be there for them. I would like to see us involved a little bit more in the driver awareness program as they get into their sophomore and junior years of high school. And we'll definitely develop that program a little bit further.
Thank you. The Washington Post just published a study that shows that legitimate reports of crimes have significantly decreased in communities that feel threatened by deportation. What would you do as sheriff to increase trust and safety among and between? What would you do as sheriff to increase trust and safety among and between our community members and law enforcement?
Again, that's going back to making sure that we are a part of every organization. You know, we have close relationships, you know, with the Fuente Center. We have close relationship with the Fair Oaks Center, the St. Francis Center. I mean, we have those close relationships, but we need to be better. We need to be closer. We need to have, as I said, somebody assigned to participate with them when they have their different meetings, when they have their different outings. That way we can keep a lid on anything that develops and address it that much quicker. So we want to keep the crime rate down. We want the children to be on our side. So we need to get better at being on their side. And under my administration, we will do that.
We actually do have a program that deals with our immigrant population. It's called CARON, Community Alliance to Revitalize Our Neighborhoods. And that is a program that the sheriff has had for approximately 15 years that works on a daily basis. It's a deputy sheriff and 2 additional employees who work on a daily basis building that bridge of trust between the immigrant population and law enforcement. We do immigration forums. We put on how to pay for college symposiums for undocumented students and their parents. We've done a Dreamers Roadmap. Our CARON program has done some amazing things to ensure that our immigrant population is aware of the services that are available to them, but most importantly, the relationship that they can have with law enforcement. I'm very proud of that program. We have actually made it more robust, and that program currently works with Catholic Charities and all of our other immigrant rights and support services organizations in our county, and it's very effective. I'm very proud of the work that they do there, and our immigrant population is very well served by this only program that I know that a law enforcement organization has that specifically serves the immigrant population.
Thank you. Since many inmates have a history of trauma and mental health issues, what are your plans for diversion, reintegration, and continuity of care? Sheriff.
I think it's my turn. Thank you. So what are we doing with our inmates? We have approximately 32% of our inmates currently have some type of diagnosed mental illness. And we have very recently opened up a behavioral health pod in cooperation with our behavioral health and recovery services from the county to ensure that we are able to very intensively provide mental health services to that population. And the whole concept behind that is that by providing them with concentrated mental health services, they will be able to, first of all, go back into the general population of the jail and at some point be able to re-enter our communities and get the mental health treatment that they need outside of the jail. The jails should not be our mental health hospitals, but they are. And it's a very tragic situation, not only for my personnel who have to deal with that, but for these individuals who are suffering from severe mental illness and are in jail where their mental illness typically does not get better. Thank you.
I have to agree with the sheriff. I mean, the jail's not the place for mental health patients. Unfortunately, a lot of these mental health patients commit crimes, and the crimes are of such a nature that they have to be housed in our facility. And that's never easy to deal with. I mean, the mental health staff, the behavioral sciences folks, I mean, are probably the best of the best, and we're very fortunate to have them. And I think it's one of those things where when I first started here at the sheriff's office, we were able to transfer out some of those patients to other facilities down in Santa Clara County, some over in the East Bay. And until, you know, the county itself gets better at dealing with mental health patients in their own facilities, unfortunately, we're going to get stuck with them. But I am pleased to say that the staff that we have are very, very good, very, very dedicated, and they're doing a lot of good work.
Thank you. There is currently a movement to reform the for-profit money bail system in California. What are your thoughts about this potential reform?
The attempts to reform the bail. I mean, it's one of those things I try to tell folks that the sheriff's office, we don't set bail. The courts set it, and we have to collect it in order for somebody to be released. And in some cases, the bail schedules are just outrageously stupid. And it's unbelievable for some crimes that the amount of money that they're attached to bail. So I'm all for the reform. I know that there's going to be a lot of public monies involved in that, but I think it's definitely necessary that we follow along that path because there's some people that will never get out under the bail schedule that's been assigned to them.
I support bail reform, and the reason that I support it is because I believe that someone should not be in jail solely on the basis of their economic situation. It seems to me that, and actually what the county is doing right now, is exploring and experimenting with moving towards a risk-based analysis of our pre-trial inmates. Obviously, we have two categories of inmates: pre-trial, sentenced. Sentenced inmates don't get bail. It's our pre-trial inmates who get bail. In San Mateo County, at last count, we had approximately 30 inmates out of a jail population, I'll round it up, 1,000 inmates, who were eligible to be released for bail if they had the money. So I'm a strong supporter of the bail reform movement. I believe we should move to a risk-based assessment, determination of who should be released from custody or not, entirely dependent on the safety of our community. Thank you.
As a person of color who lives in this county, I'm apprehensive about contacting law enforcement. What trainings would you have in place to counter racial bias so that innocent parties feel safe to call you?
I think the biggest program that we have in place in the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office is we have an extremely diverse workforce, so that when people are encountered law enforcement from the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office, they're going to see people of color. They are going to see people that look like them, who have been through their same experiences and can communicate with them at that level. We're very fortunate in San Mateo County that law enforcement has an extremely strong relationship with all segments of our communities, all ethnicities. And I think it's because we pride ourselves on being professional in all of our encounters, because we are trained from the beginning to treat everyone in a colorblind manner, and we continue to hire some of the best and brightest law enforcement professionals who make me proud on a daily basis for the work that they perform.
As I started out to say, that you've seen in the newspapers, you've seen on the internet, you've seen on TV, a lot of the issues that have been going on with people of color. And we need to pay attention, and we need to train our officers to look for those types of situations that they could eliminate by learning how to talk to people. And we do that through training and CIT and some of our other things that we do, but we can be better at it. And it just takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of experience, and you can eliminate those issues. Nobody should be afraid to call law enforcement with a problem. And it's just that we need to work with our staff that much better to make sure that we're covering these issues that are going on in our state, in our country. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about scenarios. We need to do this at our roll calls, briefings every single morning. We need to talk about it so that we can discuss what's been going on, so that if we run into that situation, we'll know exactly how we're going to act.
Thank you. Had a number of questions relating to police, domestic violence, sexual crimes, fake IDs. What is your take on avoiding the appearance of impropriety? How would you expect San Mateo County deputies who are aware of a fellow deputy's exploitation of individuals or other criminal behavior to handle it? If a situation arises where the public has questions of the proprieties of an incident involving San Mateo County deputies, how would you balance public need to know versus protecting fellow deputies?
We in law enforcement are held to a higher standard. We know the law, and we need to obey the law. If we violate the law, then we should admit it. We have violated the law. So there's no escape, in my opinion, for somebody that goes out and does something that they should not ought to do. Okay? They got to be treated just like anybody else that we run into doing that same violation. I mean, again, I go back to my transparency, that we need to, be transparent, tell them what we did, how we did it, why we do it. If we're wrong, we need to tell you we're wrong, and we need to tell you how we're going to fix it, okay? So, nobody in law enforcement, as far as I'm concerned, is excused from obeying the laws that we all have to obey.
So in law enforcement, we do hold ourselves to a higher standard. And I think as the sheriff, I ensure that my personnel do that on a daily basis. However, I do have to balance that with their legal rights. They also have the rights to due process. They have the rights to ensure that if allegations are made against them, that they are proven. There are many times that allegations are made against law enforcement personnel where the allegations are proven to not be true, to not be accurate. And I think my employees deserve someone who will look at each and every allegation, each and every incident of misconduct in a fair and impartial manner. Thank you.
Amen. We've had several questions from the North Fair Oaks community. So just what additional programs do you offer the North Fair Oaks community? Yeah.
The programs that we offer the North Fair Oaks community are our Sheriff's Activities League. As I said, we ensure that we provide each and every youth in our underserved community the opportunity to participate in our programs. We also have our community policing program, who ensures that community gets the benefit of our toy and book drive, that they get the benefit of our Christmas party. We participate in community soccer and basketball games, which I have painfully participated in myself. We have our Care-On program, which I think is truly one of the crown jewels in regards to being that service provider to that North Fair Oaks immigrant population. People who are Hispanic, who all speak Spanish, can communicate with people who have concerns about being new to this country, about being undocumented. We ensure that we work on a daily basis to foster that trust, that relationship, and ensure that they know that they have a friend in the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office.
I really can't add anything to what the sheriff has already said about North Fair Oaks. However, I would like to see those programs jump over the hill onto the coast. I mean, we have a lot of, thank you. We have a lot of Hispanics that are from, Montero all the way down to Ana Nuevo that could use those type of programs. And that's what I said before, that let's get those programs over onto the west side so that they can equal and or rival what's going over in North Fair Oaks.
Thank you. We have a brand new jail, but it does not permit families to have in-person visits with inmates. They must use video calls instead. Would you change this? What is your opinion on this policy?
Well, I wasn't part of the planning process for the new jail, but I would not have gone with video visits. I can understand video visits for doing arraignments when you have violent inmates, but I think the behind the glass and on the phone that's why people travel all the way down to our jails to visit their relatives. They want to see them. They don't want to see them through a TV screen. I mean, we could almost come up with a Skype program and they could do it from home if that's what the intent was. But I do not favor video conferencing with your loved ones. I like to see it go back to the glass and the telephones.
Well, I'm glad you agree with that because that's what we've been working on. We've been renovating the Maple Street Correctional Center to add 6 face-to-face visiting rooms so that our inmates can visit with those loved ones that want to come in and see them in person. So we've addressed that issue. We're going to maintain video visitation. It truly is the process of the future, but we also recognize that there are many people who still want to see their loved one on a face-to-face basis, and that project should be completed sometime within the next month, and we've been working on that for the last 6 months. It is also important to note that at McGuire, we will continue to maintain our face-to-face visits and also ensure that we're able to add that component of video visitation. We have a very large county. Not everybody is able to come down to Redwood City and visit their loved one. There are many times when video visitation can actually be an outstanding alternative for those people who either don't have transportation or are elderly and cannot make the trip to see their loved one. At some point, we hope to be able to offer that video visitation system from someone's own home, but we're not there yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Several more on the jail. In managing the jail, what is your vision for rehabilitation? What would you do to ease an inmate's reentry and to reduce recidivism?
Well, let me tell you what we are doing currently. We are immediately, when someone gets booked into our county jail, we are assessing each individual. There is an inmate caseworker who is assigned to each inmate to determine and analyze what are their issues. Do they have substance abuse issues, anger management? Do they need job skills training? I was in the jail yesterday, and there are amazing things going on at Maple Street. We had 2 classes of high school going on, and these are not your typical high school students. These are men and women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and perhaps older who never received their high school diploma. And we wonder why it is that they turn to a life of crime. So once we assess each individual, we develop a tailored plan to address their needs. We try to address their problems, and then we try to link that to future opportunities through collaborations with organizations such as Job Train to provide people with a job when they leave our correctional facility. Our motto is corrections with compassion, and I'll tell you that that is happening on a daily basis at the Maple Street Correctional Center, and I couldn't be more proud of the work that my people are doing every day. Thank you.
Certainly, there's not really too much to add to that, other than, as the sheriff said, I think it's incredible that we get the opportunity to get a lot of the inmates through whether it be the GED process or the high school diploma process. And then we have a number of trade type schools that we offer as well. And that's something that's extremely important, is because they want to come out with a little trade. And if they can do that and they can line up a job, that's even that much better. But again, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of one-on-one with the jail staff and the inmates. If the inmates want to learn, they certainly have the opportunity, and they will get the opportunity. If they don't, well, then it's on them, because those opportunities are available, and all we can do is make them better.
Thank you. Immigrants are a large part of our population. What have you personally done during your time at the Sheriff's Office to help them?
Well, working on the coast, as a coast deputy, I run in to a lot of immigrants on a daily basis. And I'm very close with the Fuente Center, and they call me all the time when they have issues that they would like some law enforcement guidance on. And we try to get them through the process. I made a lot of traffic stops on immigrants, and I'll tell you what, they'll always give you a registration card, they always give you proof of insurance, but they might not have a driver's license. So we do what we can do to get them to DMV in Redwood City to get that driver's license. And that's really, really important to a lot of them. So having that relationship, again, expanding on that relationship is what I would like to do, is so they always have a point of contact all the time so that they can be contacted for any issue, and we can work on resolving it as soon as we get it.
So what I've personally done is I've participated in Donuts with Deputies. I don't eat the donuts, but I absolutely go to those events at a Hispanic church in our community. I have participated in almost every immigration forum that we've had, and we've had one almost every other month. I have participated in community soccer games with Catholic Charities. I've participated in their Christmas party. I went to the Caron Christmas party. I played 2 community basketball games in our immigrant community. I have attended many meetings in North Fair Oaks to ensure that our immigrant population receives the highest level of service possible. And most importantly, not only have I modeled the behavior that I want my personnel to follow, I have ensured that our programs that serve our immigrant population are funded to the highest extent possible. Thank you.
What is the current policy for concealed carry permits, and what is your opinion on this? Would you change or enforce this policy?
So the state of California is a good cause requirement state, which is a very broad term, which is applied differently in every single county. And I know this because as a sheriff, I attend the California State Sheriff's Association meetings, and I get to listen to each sheriff identify how it is that they issue CCWs. Many counties are shall issue, which means that once somebody applies, as long as they don't have a record, they receive a CCW. And then there are some counties that don't issue one at all. In San Mateo County, I apply a balanced approach, which is I look for a good cause for each applicant, which does not fall into the category where I would have to issue a CCW to every single person. I don't believe that that is a good policy. But we are a may-issue county, and I will continue as sheriff to follow the tradition of the sheriff's office to issue CCW permits to those individuals who meet that rightful standard.
The CCW question seems to be probably the one I answer the most. And I too believe that you should have good cause for that permit. But what I don't like seeing is that, when a permit is denied, the applicant is not told why they're denied. If I'm going to deny you a permit, I'm going to tell you why, because it might be an error in your application, or we might have erred in our review and our background process. So anybody that's denied will know why, so they have an opportunity to correct it. Now, if they violated some crime and they're not entitled to, that's what they'll be told. I'm going to look for a good cause as well. And that good cause is over and above just self-defense. That seems to be the reason why you're applying for it anywhere. Tell me why you need it, and we'll work with you to get it.
And as I announced before we got started, we have the new Voters' Choice Act. San Mateo County will be mailing all registered voters a ballot 29 days before the June 5th election. If someone can get a ballot to an inmate, they have the ability to vote. What would you do to make voting easier for all eligible inmates?
I don't know if they can get a ballot while they're in jail. Maybe, I mean, it's, they can? If they're eligible, okay. Well, if they're eligible to receive that ballot there in the jail, then we would have them go through and mark up their ballot and mail it back. But most of them obviously would go to their home addresses, and hopefully somebody wouldn't violate that and fill it out for them and send it back, because they're being honest. But that's all I can say to that. Maybe you could add more.
I think I can. Yes, our inmate population, those who are eligible to vote, we facilitate that process for them, ensure that they have the basic right to vote, same as anyone else. It's been a system that's been in place in our jail for many, many years, and we work hard to ensure that their rights to vote are absolutely championed. Thank you.
How would you handle public access to information on the most serious use of force and confirmed cases of misconduct in your department?
Those cases that cross the line and become criminal conduct, the district attorney is responsible for those, and the district attorney is responsible for sharing that information with the public. In regards to use of force issues that do not rise to the level of criminal conduct, we are forbidden by law from sharing that information with the public. Our employees, public employees, have the same, have rights to privacy that I am unable to violate.
Again, I go back to, we don't tell the public enough of what we do. If we do something wrong, we should tell you we've done something wrong, and we should tell you how we're going to fix it. Again, if they're looking at a crime, that crime will be independently investigated by the district attorney's office. The sheriff's office would do their own investigation for internal purposes of possible wrongdoing, and they could be dealt with in both fashions, and that has to happen. But depending on the notoriety, you know, I think that we owe it to the public to explain that we did find whatever it was we did find, and obviously whatever actions we take, we cannot disclose. But there is a lot of public outcry. You know, the chief in Pennsylvania came out, you know, and apologized for what his officers did in Starbucks. And I think that's appropriate. He came out and apologized, said that they shouldn't have done what they did. He didn't have all the information. So, but anyway, in those kinds of situations, we got to come out, we got to make a stand, and we will.
Okay, and several relating to the mass incarceration levels. What changes would you want to implement here in San Mateo County to decrease incarceration rates and provide rehabilitative alternatives? What goals do you have for that reduction?
I think the goals are to keep the rate of our population down, and it is, we talked about when we talked about the bail, you know, come up with a risk assessment or a low bail so that they can stay out, they can continue to work, they can still be with their families and deal with whatever, most likely misdemeanor crimes that they've been arrested for. I think that's important, to try to keep them out, keep them busy, you know, make them, you know, earn their way back into respectability. So I think, you know, we should do that in all of our misdemeanor cases as much as we possibly can. So through reduced bails and/or being out without having to be bail, that's the way to do it.
So currently in our county jail system, we have 85% felons. We are dealing now, because of the push to reduce state prison overcrowding, we have in our jail only those people who are the most serious violators. Almost anyone that traditionally would spend their time in a county jail, drunk driver, suspended license, they spend no time in jail. Approximately 500 inmates in our custody do their time out of custody through our Alternative Sentencing Bureau, where through work furlough, through the Sheriff's Work Program, we try to ensure that they maintain their connection to the community and to their jobs. We're not doing anybody any favor by keeping them in jail for a minor offense and causing that person to lose their job, which affects their entire family. So we work very hard to ensure that the majority of our people, almost half of the people that we have in custody, are spending their time out of custody, out in the community, being productive members, and I believe that's what ensures their release from custody is successful. Thank you.
I'm afraid this will have to be the last question. How big a problem are opioids in San Mateo County, and is there a prevention program in place? What are your plans for one?
Thank you. We have been dealing with the opioid issue in our county for the last couple of years. The San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury made a recommendation that we issue Naxalone, otherwise known as Narcan, to our deputy sheriffs so that they can intervene and assist someone who is going through an overdose of opiates. However, our county health officer has been working in partnership with us, and he believes, and I agree, that law enforcement personnel are not the best persons to dispense medicine. And because we have such an outstanding response time from our paramedics and fire engines, he believes that anyone who has an overdose in our county will receive that service and that medicine within 5 minutes. And our numbers in San Mateo County are very, very low. We do not have an opioid problem in San Mateo County, such as San Francisco or Santa Clara or Alameda. We're very unique in that, from that perspective, and I think that if our numbers change, I will absolutely support providing that tool to my law enforcement personnel.
The sheriff is correct. We have a very, very low opioid problem. Everybody pretty much knows that methamphetamine is our biggest problem here in this county. So dealing with that is its own issue. But the fire personnel that we do deal with, that when we run into somebody that is on opiate, that they take care of them very, very quickly. They're transported very, very quickly, and they receive good patient services. I think that it's on the rise. Just in the last month, I know we've seen several more cases on the coast. I don't know if it's going to be a trend or if it's something that's just going to be very, very short-lived. I hope it's going to be very, very short-lived. But we're going to make sure that all the deputies out there have the training to recognize those persons that are under the influence of either the opiate or the methamphetamine, et cetera.
Thank you. Now we'll have, each candidate has 3 minutes for a closing statement, and we will begin with Mark Melville.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you for coming tonight. It's good to see everybody here, so that you could listen to both of us talk about what we would do and why we want to be your sheriff. Again, it's a long road. In my opinion, as I said, transparency is number one in my book, and I want to let everybody know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it, and we're going to do it better. I've said that I would go through every division within the sheriff's office. We're going to put the right people in the right place to get the job done. We have a lot of folks here that have a lot of talent, in my opinion, that's being wasted. I want to use it. I want to use it for the betterment of the office. I mean, that's very, very important to me. The recruitment has got to be done. We have to get our numbers back up. That's also important. We can't deny that. The immigration issue is going to be big in this county. I'm all for maintaining what we have, keeping the immigrants here, getting them back to work so that they're productive. The serious felonies immigrants, I have to agree with the sheriff, we need to move them along. My big thing is I'm just tired of seeing ICE come in, take somebody, deport them, and then see them back in a week or so without any charges. I've seen that here, and that's wrong. If you're going to commit a crime in this county, I want you to be arrested. I want you to be prosecuted. I want you to serve that sentence, and after you serve it, time served, I will walk you out the front door. I mean, that's the way it should be, no matter who you are. So that's very, very important to me. Everybody is going to have the opportunities to excel at their job, because I'm not going to accept anything less than 110% from my personnel. It's their office. This is not about me. This is about the 800 employees that we have and making them better and getting them to participate. You put them in the right positions, then you'll get more work out of them. So that's what I believe in. I ask for your vote. Come, well, if you get your ballot on May 7th, send it back. I'll take it on May 7th, but make sure they're all back by June 5th. Thank you very much.
I want to thank the League of Women's Voters for moderating tonight's forum, and I thank all of you for being here tonight as well. I am extremely grateful for the support I have received from the members of the Sheriff's Office and from community members throughout San Mateo County. The position of sheriff is very critical, and I think it's important that you as voters take the time to listen to us and make your determination as to who is the most qualified, who is the most experienced candidate for this position. I am proud to lead the outstanding men and women of the Sheriff's Office who on a daily basis perform feats of honor and bravery to ensure that we keep the residents of San Mateo County safe. The ballots will come May 7th, but I'm going to help you out a little bit. Don't wait till June 5th to turn them in, because they're due earlier than that. Please read your ballots, fill them out. I would be honored to have your vote. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank our volunteers for making this possible this evening, and I'd like to especially thank you, the audience, for being here, taking time to better inform yourselves before voting. And as a reminder, be sure to look up additional information about the candidates, other races, the state and local measures on your ballot at votersedge.org. And also remember, a video replay of this forum will be posted soon. And there are handouts outside in the narthex that'll tell you when it's going to be played back. Please let people know so they can inform themselves. And again, remind you to pick up information on the Voters' Choice Act, our next ballot, out in the narthex. And please feel free to stay for the reception after and chat amongst yourselves. And there are so many more questions. I'm sure you can discuss them. Thank you so much for being here.